okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It sucks because it's starring chicks.
I called it. That little boy in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles called it bunch of vagina bullshit.
I forgot about that kid.
I don't want to see that.
Boo. We are quite a few people have reviewed this before us. It got screenings out in New York, Chicago, other places. I know Lewis saw it a couple days ago, and I've seen the feedback. I haven't seen those videos, but I've seen the feedback for all of them, and I kind of feel like now reviewing this movie, it's sort of like standing on the beach and seeing sharks devour your friends, yet still saying, I feel like going in the water. Because no matter what we say, it doesn't matter. Not even a little bit. There is still going to be some extreme faction that's going to fill it with a lot of bullshit. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of any other time outside of maybe like a political movie where that's the case. Over this movie.
Yeah, really. Oh, this is terrible. Something got in my eyes. Ghost got in my eye. So if people notice me wiping at my eye, it's because it hurts.
Get out, my friend, Ghost.
Get out, my friend, Ghost. Honestly, I thought it was great. I had a good time. I liked it a lot.
I thought it was meh.
That's fair enough.
I didn't think it was a bad film. This movie is not worth raging about. To me, anyway.
Oh, for sure.
But, goddamn, I'm glad that it's finally out. I'm glad that it's finally out, so I don't know, maybe, because there were such extremes on either side of this movie. You had one extreme full of creeps, full of just fucking sad, depressing creeps. And then another side that's saying anybody who doesn't like the movie is completely sexist. Again, all for a movie that I just at the end of the day thought was meh. Thought was just kind of, yeah, it was okay. At the end of the day, I would probably say it's a rental.
Well, I was on the fence about meh versus great until the ending, because I thought the climax was really great. I thought it picked up a lot.
It was pretty consistent for me throughout it. Once it kind of hit the 20-minute point, I was kind of like, I have a feeling I know that what's going to be the tone for the rest of the movie. And it was that.
They told us what was going to happen in the second trailer on.
They show this whole entire movie in the trailers.
Yeah, which I knew, which was annoying to me, because I was like, I would rather not have the whole movie laid out for me, but no, I laughed a lot. It's a lot of stuff that was in this. I laughed here and there. It was very hit or miss for me, and the movie kind of did a lot of really, not to the extent of something like Sisters, but there were jokes in this movie that at first I laughed at, but kind of got ruined for me from them not knowing when to cut. Like the Patrick Swayze joke, for instance. Just a quick reference to the movie Ghost, and I laughed, and then they kept going and explained the joke and threw in other Swayze references just cause. There's a whole 30-second ad-lib spiel about the phrase, the cat's out of the bag. Yeah, when they got into the Linerama stuff, that's the ones that missed the most, I think. Like, there were ones that weren't Linerama.
No, there's plenty plenty that's not, and those were the ones that I laughed at the most in the movie.
You know what it seemed like? It seemed like they took what the reviews were for the trailers and then edited from there. Because there were things that were in the trailers that weren't in the movie. Like there's a scene with the guy, I don't remember the actor's name, the one who has the weird scream at the concert.
Oh, Michael McDonald.
Yeah, Michael McDonald. There's a scene in the trailer they use at the beginning of both of them where he goes like, no one should have to face that, but I'm sure you girls will do fine. And they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's
that
right.
wasn't in there at all. And it, I know people were complaining. They're like, oh, I heard there's like a dance-off in the movie.
That's in the ending credits.
It's in the ending credits, but it seemed very much to me like he set that up and it happened in the movie, but they cut it because of the complaints and then put it in the end credits because he poses them like they're dancing and then it moves on and they don't explain why he does that. And I think very much that was in the movie and they changed it.
It was like if you cut out the dance sequence in the street from The Mask but still left in the setup to it.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
It was weird, and I had no problem with the dance off. I wish it was included in the actual
At that point,
movie.
why not? Like,
well, they had a lot of dumb stuff, which was funny to me anyway. Like Slimer and his girlfriend.
Slimer was the only cameo from the original movie that I liked.
I didn't mind any of them. I thought it was hilarious that they, spoiler alert, fucking just killed Bill Murray. Killed the shit out of him.
That leads me to another thing about this movie, but before then, every cameo in this movie, other than Slimer, because Slimer I thought was fucking hilarious in the couple minutes he's in this movie. He turns the Ecto-1 into this party bus, basically, with ghosts just driving around, like, acting a fool like it's a college town. Like, wow, I kind of want to follow them around. Like, I wish this was sort of like the cartoon where, can I see, like, a 20-minute, like, Slimer episode?
You don't want it like the fucking cartoon, all right? You do not want fucking Slimer cartoon.
If it's
that's
like
atrocious.
If it's like this,
if it was like that, that's fine. But Slimer cartoon was not like that.
No, this is what I mean. Like, I could use a Slimer cartoon with this Slimer. If it's just, it suddenly cuts and it's just Slimer doing shenanigans in the Ecto-1, that's really making me laugh.
They did have a cartoon in this, though.
Oh, with the Ghostbusters logo. The rest of the cameos in it, I never laughed, and it instantly took me out of the movie.
Yeah, I kind of liked that they were jokey, but they did put them in as elements of the story rather than just like, here's a reference. Except Dan Aykroyd, he seemed very much like, here's just a reference. And Annie Potts
too. Annie Potts was,
but she was part of it at least.
But she was in there to also kind of sort of say one of her lines from the first movie.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
It was
Bill Murray was probably the most story-heavy one.
Even
actually doing
but even that character was like, I don't know why you give a shit about this guy. Just throw him out of your fucking building. Like, it wasn't like Walter Peck, where it was like, this guy could seriously destroy you. He's from the fucking EPA.
I thought at first they were setting it up like he was going to be one of the villains.
I kind of did too.
Are they? And then they just kill him, which was pretty funny, actually.
It was, but it leads me to another thing, which is they are terrible Ghostbusters. They're awful. They're like so many people are dead by the end of this fucking movie.
They didn't really kill anyone in the first one, did they? Or the original, I mean? They didn't really, because they would have ghosts, but they didn't kill anyone.
No, I don't remember.
But there's lots of deaths in this. Like,
yeah, there is.
The guy who straight up just kills himself.
The only, they were gonna lose at the end of this movie. The only reason they didn't was because Slimer just so happened to be on that block, driving the car with the nuclear reactor on it. If that 1 in a million chance didn't happen, that's just the end of the world at the end of this movie.
That's true, yeah. No, they're not very good at it, but
they're constantly blowing up shit and like
I love that nothing is of consequence for a lot of this, because like they'll blow shit up and there's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Or like they set it up where the mayor and his assistant, or whoever that's supposed to be, they're like, so we're gonna just say that you're frauds. Thanks for doing what you do, but we don't want panic, so sorry, you're gonna take the fall. And I'm like, oh no, is this gonna be one of those annoying storylines where you gotta kind of like follow, like, oh no, we gotta make sure our reputation's safe. But they never do. They get like dragged out and fake arrested, and then nothing happens from that. And it was funnier that way, that it's like, oh, okay, I guess, all right, I guess that happened. And the don't you compare me to the Jaws mayor. Don't
That
you
was
do that.
funny. I laughed at that. I laughed at Andy Garcia getting mad that he was being compared to the mayor from Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, I laughed. Of the 4 leads, this kind of shows you how, because I've said when we've reviewed the trailers on here before that I wasn't sold on the trailers. I didn't think it looked very good, but I just moved about my day. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So it's like, if you didn't think this movie looks good, that's one thing. If you think it looks great, that's another thing. If the phrase "rape my childhood" comes up, you're a fucking loser. Like, so beyond that, from the trailer, my least favorite part of the trailer was probably Leslie Jones. In the movie, she is actually my favorite one of the 4.
She was really funny. She was funnier than the editing gave her in the trailer.
The trailer makes it look like she's just hollering and shouting and screaming through the whole movie. Really, the only time she does that on the movie are the parts that's in the trailer.
Yeah. When they see them all posed for the dance-off, she just goes like, "Hey, why y'all like this? Hey, something's up."
Yeah, she kind of had some pretty...
She was really funny.
She was. She kind of had some pretty genuine reactions to all this shit that was going on. Like, she was playing off this weird shit really well. And I liked that Melissa McCarthy played it more or less fairly straight in the movie.
She was probably my least favorite, but I didn't dislike her.
My least favorite was Holtzman.
Oh, I loved Holtzman. I'm opposite on that one.
Many people do. I'm in a small boat on that one. I found her annoying.
There was 1 or 2 times where it's like, it could have been toned back a little bit. Like, give her a little more sincerity. They gave her like 1, but it's like, okay, but you need to pull it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Not constant.
Her character was pretty much just nothing but quirk, and every time she did something weird or said something weird or had just an odd delivery, I was less laughing and more just going, why? Like, why are you standing there in a wig when they're looking for, what are you even doing?
That one was funnier in the trailer than it was in the movie, the wig line.
She is on it, like, even though she knows how to build this shit, like, okay, she knows how to build this shit, she's also the reason why so much shit gets destroyed, to the point to where I don't know why they don't just make Chris Hemsworth one of the Ghostbusters. What's gonna happen? More shit get destroyed? Like, really? Like, I don't think you're really picking and choosing very well who you decide to make a Ghostbuster in this. So, yeah, Holtzman most of the time felt to me like somebody looked at a picture of Doc Brown, didn't see the movie, and just decided, what do you think this character would be like?
No, I thought she was fun. I liked her. One of the moments I really liked in this movie was when they had the really sincere moment with Kristen Wiig's character, where she explains why the first time she saw a ghost, when her neighbor was watching her and they just traumatized her in her childhood.
Yeah.
And I thought they were gonna do like a wah-wah joke at the end of that, which I'm like, no, don't do that, because I think it would really ruin the moment. And they didn't. They just left that sincere, and I'm like, that's good. And I feel like it should have had a little more of that.
It should have had a lot more of that.
But
a lot more of that.
For the most part, I didn't think it was too over the top, like constant mugging or things like that.
No, I mean, like, it's pretty much a live action cartoon. It has more in common with like an animated Ghostbusters thing than it does with the first movie. It is a lot more dick and fart jokes than
I laughed
than the first movie. If that was the only one, that would have been one thing. But the first
was there more than one?
The first 15-20 minutes felt like there was a lot of that shit in it.
Was there more than one fart joke in there?
Well, there was shit jokes and like the guy shitting his pants, like the tour guide, and like, oh, this slime is everywhere in every crack, and like things like that. And I was like, is this gonna be this whole entire movie? And it isn't. Like they kind of dropped that. At the end, the ghost gets basically killed by being zapped in the balls.
That was funny though to me. That they zapped him in the balls. I thought it was funny.
It didn't really make me groan or anything like that. One, because I saw it in the trailer, so I knew that was going to happen. I was sort of like, okay, I guess with the tone of this movie, that kind of goes along with it. Like, I realize the first movie had a ghost blowjob in it, but that wasn't every 15 minutes of that movie. And that movie didn't end with Peter Venkman just punching Gozer in the tit. Like...
I laughed at the line, "Who's the floating beefcake?"
Chris Hemsworth was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
I liked the jokes at his expense. I wasn't sure from the marketing standpoint about his character, because I felt like they felt he was more marketable because he was the most famous guy in it.
Yeah.
Where I was like, no, can we not? But he was great in the movie.
He is. He's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Again, I wish they hadn't just said that he got possessed and became the villain at the end in the trailer, but
he was better at that than that. Man, the villain was super lame in this fucking movie.
I recognized him from... There was that... I'm spacing on the name of the show, but it was that Yahoo space show with Joel Hodgson.
Mystery Science Theater?
No. They did that original series. It has space in the title. I watched the whole thing and it was really funny, and I just don't remember the name. But him, the guy who was the villain and the guy who was the delivery guy, they were both leads in that. And the guy who played the villain was basically playing the same character, where he's just a fucking creep.
That guy. I
was
like
surprised
that guy at all.
that he was so prominent in it, because I don't think he's that well known. I don't recognize him from stuff. But I mean, like, I thought he was all right, but I thought the ghosts, some of them were genuinely creepy in it. Like, they looked
better than they did in the trailer.
I liked the look of the ghosts a lot. Like, I liked the big neon look, but I liked that some of them were creepy. That opening scene, when they have the guy discover the ghost and then the floor starts bubbling up, like, that was genuinely creepy. And they didn't really add a joke to it before they moved on.
Not really. I don't remember necessarily any jokes there. Nothing in this movie creeped me out to the extent of anything. It creeped me out more than stuff in the first one.
I mean, it was that sort of feel.
The first one, the difference being
it felt a little more dangerous, though, because people actually died in this one.
But it was way more, this one looks and feels more like it's shot as a comedy, as like a goofy thing. And
That's
the first...
It veers more toward comedy, yeah.
Well, I mean, the first one's obviously a comedy, but like the first one is also filmed like it's a horror film in certain scenes, like especially the first part of it, and even the ending climax and stuff like that. Like, yeah, everyone's making jokes and having a good time in the movie, but the way the movie is filmed, the way the movie is shot, feels like they're shooting it as a horror movie, but it's about comedy characters. Whereas like Ghostbusters 2 totally looks like it's shot like a like a kids movie.
2 is more like the cartoon. But like I liked the look of this a lot, but it's definitely true that it's more toward a comedic slant than a horror slant. And if you compare the two, to be completely honest, and I knew it was going to be this way, of course the original one is the
first
better
one's
one.
better.
But my feeling is, why not both? The little taco girl, why not both?
When I'm thinking, why not?
I like both of them. I don't think they're equal by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought that this one was fun. Like, I would rewatch it. I wouldn't.
I would recommend it as a rental because I laughed enough in it. It was pretty... There was a lot of space between when I did laugh in the movie, but for me... Why not both more so applies to Ghostbusters 1 and 2. This one,
why not all three?
I'm sure, yeah, why not all three? This one I'm probably never gonna rewatch again. This felt like, because the movie is 2 hours long, it could have been cut to about 90 minutes.
It did feel long. I was like, how long is this?
I can see several scenes in this movie that could absolutely be cut. It felt like watching...
It was slow going in the beginning, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's the first, 20 minutes have to do with the museum thing, because several of those scenes go on so long and could be cut in half. It felt like when you watch the deleted scenes from the first Ghostbusters, where it's obviously a lot of ad-libbing going on and a lot of it doesn't make sense, and it's like, okay, that's definitely a deleted scene, glad that wasn't in the movie. This felt like I'm watching Ghostbusters, but they just kept in those scenes. And
yeah, I felt like there was some ad-libbing they should have cut. Some of it was funny and felt natural, but there was some where it's like, all right, you need to cut it down a little bit.
and things like, and cutting out stuff like, that's gonna leave a mark, and say hello to my little friend, and
there was a little too much
on.
impersonations going on.
yeah, like, this is 2016, we don't need say hello to my little friend reference, and that's gonna leave a mark.
I loved seeing them kick ass. That was really important to me. Like, I hate to sound like the, like, feminist, like, oh, they're a bunch of girls and I like seeing girls do this stuff, but it really is important
but there's
to me.
I
because
totally
you
agree with
really
that.
don't see that much with women of different types. You know, you see like the strong female character where it's like she's got the sexy outfit on and she's gonna like go with two guns like sliding or whatever. You see shit like that all the time where it's like they're complimenting the male lead or whatever. But like, you don't see women in jumpsuits with their hair up, heavier women that are just real women that aren't just meant to be love interests, kicking some ass.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And I thought I loved the climax. I loved seeing, I know you didn't like Holtzman, but that fight scene at the end when they have all the slow-mo and she's fighting them with all the equipment.
That was one of the few times I liked her in the movie.
That was fucking awesome. I loved that scene.
Yeah, I didn't think that was that bad. I didn't think the climax was that bad. Yeah, there's a difference between thinking that, which I totally agree with, and thinking anybody who doesn't like the movie, it automatically means it's for sexist reasons.
No, I can absolutely see why people wouldn't like it, and I see why you think that it's meh. Like, this is just, like, I like it a lot, but I can totally see why people would be against it, and I don't think everyone who doesn't like it is sexist. I think there's a lot of people who are sexist who don't like it.
Sure, but those people aren't actually going to see the movie.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot.
They are not going to see the movie.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between, that's the difference between those two extreme sides, is that, like, the extreme, like you're sexist because you don't like this movie. At the end of the day, they're just kind of jerks. The rape my childhood part is just creepy.
No.
It's just fucking creepy.
Like, no matter what, even if this movie was phenomenal, like the highest grossing movie of all time, phenomenal, Ghostbusters, the original, would still be the one everyone remembers and everyone loves.
Yeah.
But my thinking is, you know, it's still nice to have a reboot that goes in a different direction, because there are lots of references, but it follows its own plot. It doesn't feel like it's just a rehash for the most part.
To a point it does, because they really do follow a lot of the same act structure that the first movie did.
I felt like it was different enough. It didn't feel like a rehash to me. Like,
it did to me. Like, between, like, you know, substitute the library sequence for the museum sequence, and then they all get together. They get fired from their university. They decide to start their own business. They end up in the firehouse, which they don't take. They go to the Chinese place. And then they get famous because of one or two particular cases that they solve, and it all culminates in this big city scene at the, like, to me it really did follow the same act as the first one,
and
which so did the second one, to be fair.
And the villain basically looking like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, even though he was the logo, which I do love the idea that the villain is the logo, which was funny to me. But it is very similar in that, you know.
It's really similar.
But even though it follows the structure of it, like, it didn't feel like the same movie to me.
I wish that, given that this isn't in continuity with the first movie at all, I wish, and it really was trying to do its own thing. It feels kind of like
it was in any way.
That it was in the same continuity?
Well, because they were talking about, they're like, people did it in the past and it got washed away and, like, stuff like that, and it's like, that could easily apply to...
If that's the case, then I'm like, why the fuck does no one believe in ghosts? That's like Transformers 2, like, I don't believe in that shit.
Yeah, it probably wasn't intended that way, but if you wanted to, you could imagine.
then that makes everyone in this universe stupid.
Well, didn't they do that in the second one anyway?
And they were stupid in that movie too.
Well, that movie, they had used a fucking Nintendo controller to control the Statue of Liberty to fight mood slime.
That they did.
So don't be talking about rape in your childhood. Don't you even. They had stuff like that. There were things that were dumb in this movie too that I felt like didn't need to be there. Like the guy firing them going, suck it, and it just keeps going with the fingers. It's like, okay, that
stop that. Like, cut that shit down. Take a half hour out of this fucking movie. Honestly, I would love it if all the cameos, except for Slimer, were gone from this, because then it would totally feel like its own thing, instead of every half hour reminding me that the first movie is a movie that exists and they quote a line from it or something. Like, stop! Jesus, like, I hate that when I see that shit in, like, horror remakes.
Yeah.
Like, whenever shit pops up in there, like, it's trying to be its own thing, but then, like, this reference will happen to the first movie.
It felt like they should have had more faith in it being its own thing with the in regards to the references. Because I do agree that they did do it too much. It wasn't enough to bother me, because I felt like they had enough of their own stuff that it didn't feel like a big rehash to me. But yeah, they could have cut down on the line references and stuff like that, because...
well, I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
All right, Dan.
But Dan, I don't like that. I don't like that. I think it's funny that Casper is in continuity with Ghostbusters. Not the... Was it Casper?
Oh, yeah.
Dan Aykroyd
yeah, when he has the mustache and he goes like, who are you going to call? Someone else.
Nah.
Amazing.
I guess that makes sense. Like, he would kind of say that line in Casper, because as Ghostbusters 2 shows, in the universe of Ghostbusters, the song by Ray Parker Jr. exists in this universe when they're dancing to it at the beginning of it.
I liked the scene with Holtzman dancing, and then she sets a fire and then puts it out while she's still dancing. Funny.
That one got a little bit of laugh out of me.
You know what I look forward to? Because like I did like this movie. I look forward to them doing a sequel and other things, and doing more of their own thing with it, because it did follow the structure. And I feel like this opens up the opportunity. I've always thought that Ghostbusters has a great universe that they could be using for different kinds of teams, for different things. You know, you don't have to always set it in New York and have like a team of 4 people with similar sort of personalities. Like, they had that cartoon Extreme Ghostbusters that they did, which was that idea. Like, take a new team and do a different sort of thing. And it was great. So you can do other sorts of things with it, and there's a rich mythos to pull from. And I look forward to them expanding on that, because that's really fun.
I would like that too, and I would, as much as I've liked some of his other movies, I hope they get someone other than Paul Feig to do the sequel. Because I feel it could be so much more tighter in terms of the editing, in terms
I agree,
of the jokes.
Editing should have been tighter. Yeah.
God, it should have been way tighter. Like, that's honestly one reason why I like the second one better than I like this one. Like, the second one had dumb shit in it, and I was 8 when the second one came out. So, all right, there's some nostalgia there. But
no, the second one is better than this movie too.
Largely, like, I laughed more in the second one's got some bad shit in it, but like I laughed more in the second movie, and the second movie was also tighter as far as the editing, as far as the jokes.
It wasn't 2 hours long.
Not that I recall. The first one's like hour 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been 2 hours.
No, the hatred that's going towards this movie should be reserved for some other remake that actually is worth that kind of scorn. I see movies week after week after week. I've seen remakes after remakes, reboots after reboots that, look, this movie's meh. It's fine. It's okay. I've seen remakes and reboots that are worth 1,000,000 times more ire than this movie got. Like, I saw the fucking Thing prequel and the remake of The Fog.
Oh yeah, there's
like
the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Actually, I kind of like that one.
Well, I guess we're divided on that. But in any case, like, there are way worse remakes and sequels and things that are really insulting. Like, I can see why someone wouldn't like this.
Oh, totally.
But it's not worth the hate. It's really not.
No.
And it's not going to ruin your childhood. Like I said, everyone's always going to think that the original's better, and that's fine. But I think that this is worth opening up a new universe and a new opportunity. And I think that this is really great for young girls to be able to have that kind of character to represent you. Because
just stay home and watch Creepazoid. Got mostly female cast, I think.
And the people that are going like, oh, this is just a man-bashing movie.
I didn't think
like
that at all.
No, I think that there were things that definitely did turn it on its head that were purposeful as far as the dynamic goes. Like, who's the floating beefcake? You know, like you have the beefcake character who's there to look good and be stupid, which you would have a lot of like secretary girl characters, not in the first movie, but I mean like in other
kind
movies.
of in the second one.
Yeah,
she was much more of a cartoon in the second movie.
So you would see that a lot, and they would have things where they would make fun of gender dynamics a little bit in this, but I didn't feel like it was man bashing. I feel like it was a vehicle for lead females.
I thought there were no more dumber male characters in this movie that were in the first one.
No.
Like, seriously. Like, and honestly, to be perfectly honest, let's say for the sake of argument that I did think this movie was man bashing or whatever. So do you
not have a million movies that are totally misogynistic as far as their female characters? You don't see every single movie like that, like, oh, it was good, but it was a woman-bashing movie. First of all, you could point to the first one and a lot of misogynistic things in it, but it's still a great movie.
But it's a well-written enough movie. It's like, and plus when Peter Venkman in the first movie,
this was no more man-bashing than the first one was woman-bashing, if you want to say it, you know, like. I
didn't think the first one was. I don't think the first one was woman-bashing, and I don't think this one was man-bashing. Like the first one. Yeah, Peter Venkman is a sleaze. He totally is. And he's relatively incompetent in certain aspects. Yeah. But one, it's a well-written movie that makes this sleazy guy charming in his own way. But also, he's directly called out in that movie several times for kind of being bad at his job. And also being a sleaze. Like, other characters in the movie are fully aware that, like, this guy's kind of pervy. So you can have, like, a character like Peter Venkman in a movie who is absolutely a womanizer. But that doesn't automatically make that character bad. That doesn't automatically make that character, like, that doesn't automatically make that movie, like, misogynistic, sexist, blah, 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 whatever. It just means they did a good job of writing that character. So, yeah, I did not pick up any kind of man-bashing thing from this movie. Chris Hemsworth was dumb. So, there's dumb characters in the other movies.
Yeah. Well, and he was an asshole anyway. So
Chris Hemsworth?
His character was an asshole. Because he was doing asshole things. He wasn't just dumb, he was doing asshole things.
He was, but I don't think he was aware that he was doing asshole things.
He was a dumb asshole.
I think he was...
But he was funny, it was the thing. So anything that was, like, negative toward that character, he was an asshole anyway. So it's like, it's not like they were just bashing him because he was a guy. You know, and there were characters, you know, it wasn't just bashing on men, it's just the leads were women, so they were the focus of it.
And it's a goofy comedy. There's gonna be dumb characters in it. There's dumb characters in every single one of these movies.
Yeah.
All of them. Every single one of them. The cartoon, hell, some of the characters are dumber in the cartoon than they are in the movies.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And if you watch Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, they were extremely stupid.
This movie needed Janusz.
Yeah.
I honestly like...
Look, if you look at that guy's performance, I love that actor. I don't remember his name. Peter
McNichol.
Yeah, okay.
I love Janusz.
He's a great actor, but look, he's chewing all the damn scenery as Janusz. So if you want to complain about any scenery chewing or any kind of dumb things in this movie, like... You gotta remember Janosch, and
But
things from the
Janosch,
second one.
yeah, I laughed way more at Janosch than I did at a lot of the scenery chewing in this.
He was basically just doing Renfield from Dracula Dead and loving it again.
Exactly. Except I think Ghostbusters was first. Yeah, Dracula Dead and Loving It was a few years later.
He was
so it was original when he was Janosch.
Okay, he was just rehashing it for Dracula Dead and Loving It. Truly the greatest comedy of that time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not another lobotomy.
A good double feature of that and Repossessed. Yeah, like whenever the villain was popping up in this, who was so lame, he had kind of the same kind of hair as Janosch, so I was like, I sort of wish it was Janosch back, like as this guy. Janosch made me laugh.
It was pretty
Hey,
cool.
Johnny.
When he just like fucking kills himself,
Mm-hmm.
just electrifies himself dead.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty dark for this movie. I mean, I've seen darker in like,
It was
horror
still
movies, but
surrounded
it was,
by a lot of jokes, like.
Oh, for sure. But it was just like one of those things that I'm not used to in Ghostbusters. Someone just killing themselves or shit like that. And becoming a ghost, so at least they were acknowledging that, like, ghosts were people at one point.
Yeah.
Because I don't think in Ghostbusters they do a lot of, like, hey, remember that was a person? They just, like, zap into a trap, gone.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll deal with that later. Let's put him in this ghost prison.
And they did explain... Maybe... Okay, they explained it in the first one, too, I guess. Where it's, like, why all of the ghosts are showing up now. And they had the
yeah,
Zool
they
thing
explained it
and
in the
all
first
that.
one.
So, but they had sort of a different thing in this.
In this, it felt like there was a lot more time devoted to that in the first movie, like several actual conversations, like real straightforward conversations about it, with a little joke sprinkled here and there. This one, the exposition kind of just sort of came and went and was surrounded by...
muddled.
Yeah, like
Because when they explained that sparking device was one of the devices he was setting up around the city, I didn't get that was part of what he was doing until they were like, we think that he's setting this up to do this, or someone's setting this up. And then I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it was. Because I felt it was a little unclear.
It really was. Honestly, if you were to ask me what the point of the villain's plan or what he was really doing and why, I don't think I could answer it without looking at a Wikipedia plot synopsis of the movie.
I think it was just supposed to be he was bitter about life, and so he wanted to release the ghosts and then become the leader of the ghosts and take over the town, because he drew in the book in the end that he would become giant and take over the town, or what. That's a lot of assumption on his part.
Yeah,
that this would work.
This is
how he could manipulate the spirit realm. Yeah, I agree. He was probably the weakest part of it. I felt like they could have had a better built villain.
Lord, yeah. God, like, Gozer is terrifying in the first movie.
Yeah.
The second movie, Vigo was kind of fun.
He wasn't scary.
I don't think he wasn't scary, but he was kind of intimidating. Only because, like, he's played by, like, this fucking crazy German boxer who could probably punch your head off. I liked Vigo way better than the guy in this movie. The guy in this movie feels like...
No one's really going to remember this film.
No, the guy in this movie just feels like he's just an internet troll who just wants to make ghosts appear.
It's kind of what he was.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not scary.
They didn't do a good job building him up very much. To be like, who is this guy, and here's what he wants to do, and here's what they have to do. Because he sort of had a long exposition scene where they're like, where they see him with his machine and before he kills himself. There were moments near the end, like he was more compelling when he became Chris Hemsworth.
Yes, hardcore, because Chris Hemsworth is way better than this guy.
He has a presence. They needed an actor with more of a presence. Yeah, that guy just feels like a bit part that was a villain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
I don't really know why he jumped out of Chris Hemsworth to just become a form of something else, and then you're like, but why didn't he just do that to begin with? If he could just become whatever he wanted, I thought he had to be like in a person. Oh, and the mannequins were creepy. I thought the scene.
That part was funny.
Where it chases her, but
Yeah,
like the
that part
build-up
made me
was creepy,
laugh.
and then that's what made it funny after it starts chasing her, because it was kind of a creepy build-up, and then it starts chasing her down the hall. She's forget this.
Nothing in this movie really creeped me out, honestly. Like, yeah, I don't know, maybe because in terms of mannequins, it's like, I've seen Maniac. I've seen, like, Joe Spinell scalp people and put them on Maniacs and mannequins, and then they come to life at the end and take his head off. That's way creepier than this.
Well, I mean, like, in terms of, like, a straight horror movie, there's certainly a lot of them are creepier than this. I don't think it's, like, straight horror.
Well, no, not at all. If this movie's a straight horror film, they fail.
They fail. Yeah. But I mean, like, if you compare it to a straight horror film, of course it's not scary. But I do like they had the build up of that before the jokes, because like it grounded it a little more. It wasn't just like trying to be slapstick all the time.
Well, in that scene with the mannequins, she was still kind of making me laugh in that build-up, because she walks in that room with the mannequins.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm not going in. No, I'm not going
room
in
of
there.
horrors, no thanks.
No thanks. And then she leaves,
she was really
and
funny.
she, of the four, she was easily my favorite one in this movie. Like, hands down, I got the most laughs out of her.
Melissa McCarthy got the first laugh out of me when they did it too much with the wonton jokes, but the first time with the wonton joke where she's just commenting about what's in it, I don't know, it was fun. The delivery was funny to me. But after that, she was just sort of the straight man.
And I liked that. I thought she was, not that she
I-
made me laugh all that much in the movie, but she was the straight man.
I was fine with her as the straight man. She
Yeah.
was just like my least favorite, I think, because of that. Kristen Wiig was a little bit more of a straight person too, but she had more jokes than Melissa McCarthy did.
She did.
It kind of felt like their roles were a little similar.
Yeah, very similar.
Like I felt like it could be differentiated a little bit. Like maybe Melissa McCarthy needed a little bit more of something to.
Well, I mean, Kristen Wiig was hornier.
But she had, like, I don't know, more. I don't know. I guess it's because she seemed like the straight man character we were following to get to lead up to this, and then Melissa McCarthy was a little bit of the Dan Aykroyd character, like she's more like enthusiastic about it. But I felt like they could have given her a little bit more of a personality, I guess. I don't know if I don't know.
I liked her more than I did. I probably liked her more than I did Kristen Wiig, and I liked her better than I did Holtzman. Because Melissa McCarthy never really annoyed me in this movie. I just thought she played a really good straight man, and the ending wonton joke was pretty funny. But I get annoyed often when credits start and then bonus scene. This movie has about 20 of that.
It was totally things that they probably forced them to cut out because they didn't want to cut anything.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these things were things from the trailer where it's like, okay, so these were scenes that you just had to cut. I don't know. I liked them all right. I thought they were funny.
The wonton one I kind of laughed at. Other than that, I wanted to leave. Like, the movie was done. I was like, I don't like that. I don't like mid-credit scenes. Like,
I didn't mind it. I liked the dance-off, too. Again, I wish it was in the regular movie, but I was like, oh, okay, I can get into a dance-off at the end.
yeah, that was more like, just put it in the actual movie. You have it in the ending credits. All of that, it didn't make me laugh. It just made me be like, okay, you clearly deleted that from the earlier scene.
Yeah. I feel like they should have had more faith in that.
Yeah.
Because that would be a standout scene.
Yeah.
It was something that they edited because of the critics. And there were things that's like, okay, but that's not a problem. The problem is, like, editing down the improv jokes, the line-orama jokes.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, because I feel like if they'd just been tighter on those, even if it was still 2 hours long, like if they were just tighter on the line-orama, just like a few seconds shorter, it would be a lot better overall.
Yeah. Honestly, I would have found this movie funnier than I did if the editing was a lot tighter and the movie was a lot shorter. As it is, I'm just sort of like, yeah, it's a solid rental. It's fine. I guess it's like, sort of like, you pretty much, most people have made up their minds already whether they're gonna go see this movie or not. This movie could get, like, there are conspiracy theorists about this movie that the 80%, 70, 80% of critics on Rotten Tomatoes were paid off for it.
Look, just get over it. That's my advice. Get over it. But because, like, I really liked the movie. I thought it was great. But, like, if you really don't think you're going to like it, you don't have to go see it. It's not going to kill you to not see it. If you're curious about it and you're on the fence, I think it's really good. So it's not going to be like one of those things like if you miss it, you're going to miss out on this huge thing. But if you want to go see it, I think you'll have a good time.
I can't say necessarily that if you go see it, you won't hate it, only because, I mean, outside of people who are automatically dead set on hating this movie. They're going to hate it regardless. If you hated the
trailers, you'll probably hate the movie.
I didn't like the trailers, and I thought the movie was just kind of meh.
The trailer was less than the movie.
Yeah, those trailers
I feel
were
like they let them down a little bit.
Yeah. Like, honestly, someone should probably lose their job over those trailers.
But comedy trailers are really hard to do, though. I mean, it's you shouldn't represent the whole movie in a trailer anyway, but they do it so often. But like it's really hard to convey these things in just little bite-sized bits to say what this movie is, but it definitely was not as good as the movie is.
I know a couple of people. I have a couple of friends who have seen this movie, and I've seen headlines of a couple reviews of a couple critics that I trust who do legitimately really did not fucking like this movie, like at all, like at fucking all. So I can't say like oh, you're not gonna hate it, because there's a couple people who
there are people absolutely would hate it.
Yeah,
it's not for
totally.
Everyone.
I think that if people actually do go see this movie, there will probably be just a lot more than hatred, than total all-out hatred towards the movie. This is so not one of the worst movies I've seen this year.
No.
At all. Like, the movie is just, to me, just mediocre. So I don't know if I've forgotten anything. Was there anything else about the movie? We didn't see it in 3D, so we don't know if the 3D was any good. It actually might have been fine. Like,
the 3D was probably fine, like especially near the climax with all the ghosts running around. Like
3D Slimer going at you.
You know what I look forward to is when they make a sequel, because I think they will. I think it'll do well enough to make a sequel. I think it'll have more of what you see in the climax, because I think it'll be better to not have all of that the character stuff, because the slowest stuff was trying to get the team together and all that. And I feel like if you hit the ground running, it'll be a better product, because the ending was the best part. When they just go crazy with all the ghosts around there. And I love the neon look of the ghosts. I didn't think the effects were bad. They were CGI, but I thought it was fine.
They look way better than in the trailer, because when you see the movie, you can tell that they did put somebody in makeup, in costume, and then surround them with some digital effects. It doesn't straight up look like it's just some CG creation. There were effects in the first movie that I thought were better than some of the effects in this.
Yeah.
But there are effects in the first movie that don't hold up.
Yeah.
Like, there are. Like, it isn't... Not all of the effects in the first movie are perfect.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love practical over CGI.
Me too.
I mean,
Absolutely.
practical is great, but I feel like the CGI in this movie was fine. Like, I liked the way that it was. Like,
because a lot of it was...
There was practical and CGI in this mixed together.
And in this case, you could tell. Good. Usually when there's a mixture of practical and CGI, it just looks like CGI.
Yeah.
This, you could tell that it was a mixture of the two. And that was nice. That was nice. I miss the more uniqueness of a lot of the ghosts from the first two movies. This one, they were more or less similar.
There wasn't as many standout ones as the original one. There were ones that I liked the look of, but yeah, it could have been a little more varied. But
yeah, maybe we'll get that in the sequel. That was also something that, like, it didn't necessarily annoy me so much in the movie, because I could I got that vibe from the trailer that like most of the ghosts are probably going to look relatively similar in this, and they did. They did. They all had similar effects added to them, but they didn't look bad.
I liked that this was a really colorful movie.
It is.
Like the costumes were colorful, and the ghosts were colorful. I liked the neon look. I liked the look of the equipment. They had like the spacing on the name of it. I don't know, whatever the handheld thing that had the little whirring
PKE meter.
PKE meter, yeah. I like the look of that one. I mean, because like, I like this as a different thing. I know some people are going to be like, it's not as good as the original, which is fine because it isn't.
It isn't.
But but as its own entity, I liked the look of this stuff.
No, it's a good looking movie.
And I liked the hearse as the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is not a good look for this kind of vehicle.
This is really disrespectful to this car. Like, that got a laugh out of me. That did. The biggest laugh I got in this movie was Slimer and the hearse. That, goddamn.
That could have gone either way. That could have been completely embarrassing, but it was really funny. And like when the car goes into the void and then
party car.
Yeah, and then Slimer and his girlfriend. Woo! I liked the credit for voice of Slimer's girlfriend or Mrs. Slimer or whatever.
Mrs. Slimer.
Like Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah. She's got like this 60s
it's just like Slimer in a wig.
That's totally what it like lipstick on. Like, oh, they were literally made for each other. I'm very happy they found each other.
That was a good callback, and that was a good use of Slimer.
I think next week is that was a great use of Slimer. That was really funny. Next week is Star Trek. And I don't know what else. Yeah, yell at us in the comments. Any other final thoughts?
A bunch of vagina bullshit. Everyone who doesn't like it is sexist, and it raped my childhood.
Too much joshing.
Bustin' didn't make me feel good.
We are definitely on our own review for this. That's right, I threw out a Bobby Brown reference. Not enough respect to On Our Own by Bobby Brown. See ya.